Hey everyone, my name is Nia and I'm today's guest host for Silence the Shame podcast. I first want to shout out Layla, Shanti, and Free, our original podcast hosts. I want to also thank our supporters who are continuously supporting Silence the Shame as you guys continue to watch our episodes with this mental health journey. In today's episode, we're talking about World Mental Health Day, and today we have Angelica Resto. Miss Peachtree, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yay, it's so good seeing you again. How you been?
I've been hanging in there. I've been hanging in there.
That's good? Busy?
It is. I will say that I am actively healing and doing the work.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to dive more into that today.
Yes.
So I cannot wait to ask you questions about your journey here and your mental health journey. And because tomorrow's World Mental Health Day, we can talk about your mental health as well.
Yes, I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. Can you share your personal journey of how you got here to Miss Peachtree?
So, well, I always loved pageantry. I always fell in love with pageantry from watching, the competitions, Miss USA, Miss Universe. And so this year I had the opportunity to compete for Miss Georgia representing Peachtree City. So I'm really excited and thankful for that. It's definitely a journey, but it's well worth it.
What made you want to become an advocate for mental health?
My own mental health struggles. So it may not look like it, but I actually came from a very toxic and dysfunctional environment as a child. And growing up, I didn't realize that I was suffering with depression. I just thought that I just hit a low because of what I've gone through. And then I just thought I was over it. But as I grew into adulthood, some of those symptoms of depression, anxiety, being overwhelmed, like those things did not go away until recently when I finally got the professional help around, let's say 2018, when I was in a very toxic work environment. Mm-hmm. And that drove me to my lowest of lows. I was never, I was depressed, but I was never that low. I mean, the whole nine, I was numb, suicidal ideations, everything. I didn't want to be here anymore. Wow. And during that time, I did seek out a therapist and got the help that I needed. But to be honest with you, it took me years to heal from all of that trauma that I've been through. And the reason why I became an advocate for mental health awareness, for depression, for family scapegoat abuse survivors is because of everything that I've been through. Right. And my experience going through those things and my religious community, because I'm a Christian, and then those people not understanding what I was going through and then demonizing me in the process, which was even more hurtful. So that taught me that my communities needed to be educated on what mental health is, how to help people that's going through depression, that's suffering through their trauma, and helping survivors like myself to silence the shame.
Awesome. That's deep.
Yeah.
So you talked about your work experience and how it was toxic. What was the point where you were like, did somebody else tell you that you should go get help? Or did you say within yourself, hey, enough is enough and I want to go seek help for myself?
Oh, I knew within myself that I had to seek help because I was doing the job of 2 or 3 people. I was in an environment where I could not make a grammar error in an email or I was out the door. I had to be absolutely perfect in everything that I did. And I thank God for some of my business partners who worked with me at that time knew what I was going through, saw what was going on, and did everything that they could to help me in that situation because they knew I was not treated fairly, possibly racism was involved in that, and they were just really there for me, and I thank them for that. And the people that God sent in my life, He sent me a good lawyer who advised me what to do because he also had his own mental health struggles and got it and was able to advise me, this is what you need to do as far as your health is concerned.
That's so good because some people don't know when their limit is. So, the pressures of your job, and you didn't mention what it was, but the pressures of your job, and I think that puts it on you to be perfect.
And here's the thing with people who've gone through trauma and not knowing their limit, because especially when it comes out of childhood, you are taught or groomed to endure abuse and mistreatment. So your level of tolerance is skewed, and it tends to grow by the things that you accept and how you experience life. So the things that I saw, I believe that this is what life was and this is how life should be. And I just had to grin and bear it and take it. And it's through therapy and doing the healing work that, no, I don't have to tolerate this. I don't have to be, I don't have to subject myself to mistreatment, and that I deserve better. And to, now I know that no job, no matter how much money I'm getting paid, is worth my mental health.
Yeah.
And I hope the listeners really take that into consideration, because everybody's like, oh, I want to make six figures, but 6 figures is not worth 3 years of your life trying to heal and going through suicidal ideations.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you got into pageant life. Did this just start? Is this something that you were doing when you were younger? How did you get here?
I used to, do pageantry years ago, and when the Miss Universe organizations changed their qualifications in order to participate in the pageant, I was like, oh, I can participate again. Let me go for it. Hey. So that's how that happened, and it just so happened that I was like, you know what? This can be a great platform that can help really push my advocacy and my name and my brand out there. Because I was already talking about mental health and my experience being a woman of color in corporate America within my podcast, which is the Angelic Life podcast. Oh. So I already, got to speak about those things there. And then I just saw this opening with pageantry, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it.
Take off with it.
Yeah, it's already in alignment with what I'm doing now.
So how has your role in Miss Peachtree City, USA helped you with advocating for mental health?
Well, since I was already doing it before pageantry, it just opened the doors, like with Silence the Shame now, and I'm here speaking with you. So I'm just thankful that it, can continue on in my advocacy work.
So what projects or initiatives have you had since you've been Miss Peachtree City, USA? What have you done? What projects are you working on or have done in the past?
Yeah, so whenever I can speak about mental health awareness, I'm doing that, whether if it's like hosting an audio room on Fanbase, which is a newer social media app owned by Isaac Hayes III. Okay. And I think one of our audio rooms that we had was about family scapegoat abuse awareness and survivors of the narcissistic family dynamic. So I do that. There's the Angelic Life podcast. I'm working on season 2. Season 2 was supposed to be out this year, but I really had to prioritize my mental health. So if I'm going to talk the talk, I have to walk the walk, right?
Absolutely.
So, but it took 25. I plan to release season 2. We're going to come back bigger and stronger. Doing, awareness walks. Yeah. And I think that's how we met at the suicide awareness walk.
We did. I saw you there. You were so nice. But it seems like you are, like you said, walking the walk, literally, because you literally were at the walk. So what are some misconceptions of mental health that you've encountered during your own mental health journey?
So I would say this is that a lot of people think that somebody suffering through mental illness or having issues in their mental health, it means that they're crazy.
Right.
People aren't crazy. They're having a response to their trauma. That's totally different. if someone has been abused as a child and now all of a sudden their mind breaks or they're broken in this moment, that doesn't mean that they're crazy. They're hurting.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be more mindful of our language and have more empathy for somebody that's going through. When I was, going through my moments of depression and having those dark moments and suicidal ideations, all of that pain came from somewhere. And in my journey, I had to do the work to say, okay, I had to heal from depression, but then I had to say, why is this happening? Mm-hmm. And let's get to the root of the trauma. And then now, as a full functioning grown adult, I am still uncovering things about myself as I'm healing.
Yeah.
And part of my healing process is silencing that shame. And what is shame? It's really saying I'm bad or something is wrong with me. I am not bad. I am not, nothing about me is wrong because I'm having a reaction to trauma.
Right. Mm-hmm. So during your experience, what are some tips that you can give younger listeners that are out there, or teenagers, or people who want to walk in your shoes? What are some signs that you can recognize to say, okay, maybe I do need help, or maybe I don't want to continue on this path, but I want to get help now? Because some people don't realize, hey, I'm actually responding right now, but instead of trying to react and trying to go through a process. So what are some things that you would tell them to look out for at a young age?
I'll actually go in a different direction with that question.
Okay.
Because I was suicidal at 16.
Okay.
And I knew something was wrong, but I did not have the space or the safety to get help.
Right.
Because if I sought out help, then I was a threat to the family structure and exposing the evil, the dysfunction, the toxicity, and the abuse that was going on.
Ooh. Yeah.
So sometimes, Lord have mercy, sometimes it's not even safe for our babies to even seek out help because they may be punished by their own communities. And I knew I needed help. I knew what I was in wasn't healthy, and I just wanted peace.
Right.
So if there's a teenager where you're feeling within yourself, I just want peace or just somebody to talk to. And I remember I vented to my guidance counselor at the time.
Yeah.
And of course she had to, report what was going on. And then that got back to the family members. And then that got back to, within my household. It wasn't a good thing. But man, I just hope that's really the best answer I could give. It may not be the right one, but it's complicated. Yeah. I just
let's flip
hope
it.
They have safety.
Let's flip it. Let's talk to the parents.
Yeah.
How can we? What tips can you give parents to create a safe space for their young adults? So if they're listening right now, you said, "Oh wait, you know what? Maybe we are going through things right now, and I don't really know how to talk to my kids." So what would you want someone to tell you in your home?
Yeah.
Hey, this is a safe space, but what else could you give advice for the parents today?
So I would say, I believe that parents should ask their children, how can they support them? What is it that they need in this moment? And give them grace, because sometimes they may not have the language to voice what they need. Because while I was going through my depression, I had moments where I was so numb.
Yeah.
I couldn't describe what I was feeling. It was nothing. And there were times where I needed a hug. There were times where I just needed to know that I wasn't alone. And there were times where I just really needed somebody to love on me. So I would say to the parents to come from a space without judgment. Don't try to overtalk, just sit and listen. Yeah. And really, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand depression because they think it's just a sadness. I had a parent tell me that they could never get depressed because they're not that weak. And that's something you should never tell to a child. Or if they say, I feel like I don't want to be here anymore, I just want to die, and then the response is, well, one day you will. that is the wrong response.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
my
tough.
life. Yeah.
That's tough. That was tough to hear. Sheesh.
It was tough to experience. And even when I had a text from a cousin asking me, hey, how you doing? And I said, I'm depressed. And then the response was, I don't want to hear that. So don't ask people how they're doing if you don't want an honest answer.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for what I've been through, because my advocacy is real, because my pain is real, but my healing is even realer. That's not a word, but it is today.
Today it is. Today it is. Today it is. Definitely. So piggybacking off of that, how important is it to have those open conversations about like suicide awareness and mental health? Because they are heavy. They're heavy. So you talked about like maybe finding someone safe to talk to.
Yeah.
Even if it's not your parent, but then it's hard, like, as a youth, but like as an adult, let's talk about an adult. Yeah. An adult finding someone safe space. How important is it to actually convey those, messages, and how do you say it? Because you don't want to walk up to somebody and, I don't want to say scare them off, but you want to like make sure that they're a trusted adult that you can open up to them. So what would you say to somebody?
Yeah, I would just say, just let them know, like, just letting somebody know that you're here for them, that it's like, whatever you need, call me like anytime. And some people can make themselves available like that. Like just letting them know, like, if you need me, I'm here. Yeah. And this is a safe space, no judgment. It's not going anywhere. I'm here for you. But also making yourself emotionally available, and sometimes maybe even like physically available at the level of your capacity, but also be honest with yourself as well, and knowing when something really does need to go to a professional level. Yeah, and try to make that suggestion, maybe like, hey, have you thought about, speaking to someone professionally? Like, I'll go with you to your, to your session. Yeah. Be like,
that's good. I feel like as a supportive friend, because I do that all the time with my friends. I'm like, you might not be able to like to discuss what you're going through right now, but you can come sit over here and watch TV with me, and we don't have to talk. So maybe creating those spaces where they can be comfortable enough to like build up to those, because that's like I said before, that's a heavy conversation to have. And but like you said, letting your friends know, hey, this is a safe space, non-judgment, and you can come in for that. So we can, dive deeper later if you want to, if you feel comfortable. But, I just want you to know that I'm here.
Yeah. And also, if you have a friend, if you know somebody that's going through depression, more than likely they're probably not eating, a healthy meal, or they're not cleaning, or, not to really their own fault. They just don't have the energy. Yeah. So in order to support them in that way, just ask them like, hey, I can, meal prep for you this week. Would you let me treat you to some food this week? Or, hey, let me treat you to, a cleaning service this week.
Yeah, that's so nice.
That will help them. I'm telling you, when I came out of my depression and I was just so overwhelmed with everything, and it wasn't bad, but it was girl bad. Like I, dust everywhere. And I was just like, oh, I need help cleaning all this up and getting my energy back.
I get it.
So yeah, like kind gestures like that really go a long way, and it could really help that person to start to get back on their feet, and maybe say, hey, let's go for a walk, or would you like to come to the gym with me and get on the treadmill?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love how you said that, meal prepping and just helping clean it up, because we don't think of those little tasks as being overwhelming. Like washing dishes can be overwhelming when you're going through something. So I love that. So that's a good one. So meal prepping, cleaning up, taking a walk with that person. But like, how can I help you with your daily tasks? Like, let's sort the laundry together. Or maybe you don't want to touch anybody's dirty clothes, but
if they're clean, if you can help them.
Fold them. Yeah. Fold them and everything. Yeah. So have like a folding day.
Or hire a laundry service
to
that
pick person. Up. Absolutely. Yeah. So I love that. I love that you brought that up, because it's not always on that bigger level. Let's talk and have that. But how can I help you in your home?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
take
good.
Care of the pets. Take the dog for a walk. Something. Yeah, it's gonna help.
So, what resources or support systems can you recommend to anybody out there that are going through things like this?
Silence the shame. Of course.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely find support systems in your local communities. Definitely connect with a mental health professional, a trusted mental health professional of your choice. If you do need to speak with somebody, then you can call 9888, the suicide hotline, if you need help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love how you plugged us in.
Of
Silence that
course.
shame.
Of
But
course.
yes, we have different talks. So we do have community conversations that we do at lunchtime some Wednesdays. So just open conversations. It's not therapy, but it's like, how can we get the conversation going? That's what Silence the Shame really kind of is about, like getting that conversation going. And maybe like you said, it's important to use that language, to open up to somebody or to get somebody to open up to you.
Definitely. And support systems have really helped me so much. And it just reiterated to me that I'm not alone, that I'm not the only person that's been a survivor of scapegoat abuse or that may have been a part of maybe like a narcissistic family dynamic. And because a lot of people think that narcissism is just in romantic relationships, but you can have that within your work life, within your family, within friendships. That abuse is very real. And just to know that, wow, and hearing other people's stories, as hurtful as it is, it's like, wow, you went through the same thing I went through. That's crazy. So it's like it also confirms that you're not crazy.
Yes.
Because you have somebody else that's been gaslit, that's been told they're crazy and been invalidated and their voice has been silenced. And what helps me now is I'm taking my power back through advocacy, sharing my testimony. And I'm not demonizing anybody that, that may have done what they've done.
Absolutely.
But I do have to be truthful and to honor my story and what I've been through to save a life, because, God spared my life at 16 when I didn't want to be here anymore. And it's because of his grace and mercy today that I'm still here. And also, I even experienced survivor's guilt at the suicide awareness walk. And I was looking at all of these people who had loved ones that were gone. And it was hard for me because I was like, wow, I'm still here.
Yeah.
And then, but it made me realize that I'm here to be a voice for them and to be a voice for me at the same time. So definitely getting into a community where you have your support, but also now knowing that you have the support and you have people that understand what you've been through. It's time to do the healing work, because we can't stay stuck in a trauma bond because I went through, you get me, I get you. That's great. But now it's like, okay, how do we move forward now? And how do we heal? How do we do the work? How do we hold each other accountable? So I have a private Telegram group right now for survivors of family scapegoat abuse. And we're sharing resources in that chat. Like I recommended a complex PTSD workbook in there. There's a therapist in there that recommended, some YouTube channels to check out, and all of these resources. We're just like going back and forth and sharing, things that are helpful for us in our healing journey. So, my encouragement for like anybody that's watching or that's listening, it's great to connect with people that are like-minded, that understand your story, but it's still very important for you to take the initiative and to do the work to heal, to speak with somebody professionally, to not, your religious community is very important. Believe me, I'm a Christian, I get it. But my pastor is not a mental health professional.
Absolutely.
And we have to go to the professionals to get the professional help that's been trained in that field. Like I can't go to a foot doctor and I need an OBGYN.
Yeah.
So if I need a doctor that specializes in mental health, I need to go to a therapist, things of that nature. So be mindful of that.
I love how you're telling your story because, like you said, it's power in group. It's power in being together with somebody.
Yeah.
And I love that you are a survivor and that you made it through, because it gives other people hope. Like, wow, she had those thoughts before, but she didn't stay there.
That's right.
So what advice will you give somebody today that is struggling with just being scared, just coming forth saying, those little words, I need help. Those are not little words. Those are big words. So those big words, I need help. How do you muster up that courage to even say that to somebody?
First, it's addressing the ego and the fear, because sometimes a survivor is afraid to come out as to why would I say something is like, am I going to receive backlash? Yes, so call the suicide hotline if you really do not have a safe space, 988. Leaning on your trusted circle in your community and let them know, like, hey, pray for me right now. I'm just really going through, because sometimes you really do need someone to help lift your spirits in that moment. When I was going through, unfortunately, I was demonized while I was going through depression, like actually accused of being demonically possessed.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, wow, no, this is years of trauma, racism, abuse that's on me right now. And then and that's what I really want my religious communities, and I'm really specifically speaking to my Christian community, is that we cannot demonize people that are going through, even it's when things we don't understand. And because the underlying thing of both of those, of not seeking help and then demonizing somebody who needs the help, is fear. And we have to eradicate fear at its root and remove that shame, because there's nothing wrong with you for knowing that you need help with your mental health. And I think that's one of the bravest things that somebody can do, is actually to get the help and to get the healing that they need, irrespective of what somebody else thinks or feels about it.
Right.
You really have to do it for you and have that radical self-love. So for me, as for somebody who I was really taught to value other people's opinions of me over my own. And so I had to take that power back. Right. And embrace radical self-love and say, nope, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this healing for me. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it, because here's the thing. We only have one life to live.
Absolutely.
There is really no do-overs. And I made up my mind and decided healing, because I was like, I suffered for majority of my life. And I was like, this next half of my life, I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm going to live, and I'm going to have joy.
Absolutely.
And that was I had to make difficult decisions in that. I had to decide to go full on no contact with my family members, and that was difficult and hard, but that was the best thing for me and my mental health. And then realizing that out of a heavy decision like that there would be collateral damages, and that I couldn't have relationships with other people, right? Because in the mental health community, we would call those flying monkeys to try and get you back into that, toxic dynamic and invalidate your feelings. And so I was like, you know what? Enough is enough, and I'm done. And I really feel so much better that I made that decision. It wasn't easy, but I did. And it may not be the right decision for everybody. I just want to put that disclaimer out there. But it was the right decision for me in my situation. But there is nothing to have shame about your mental health and healing from that. Yeah. And anybody that would demonize you or put you down or, try to diminish you because of your situation, because of your trauma response, they don't need to be in your life anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. And we sometimes really have to do an evaluation of the people we have in our lives. And I did that this year.
Wow.
I cleaned out my contacts.
And that was not easy.
Mm-mm.
I know that wasn't easy.
No, because I had to do an assessment. I'm like, why? Because I realized I was holding on to a lot of weight and a lot of baggage. And I looked through my phone contacts and I was like, if I stop contacting these people, these relationships will be dead. So I'm not doing one-sided relationships anymore. I had to deal with my cognitive dissonance and to act according to my values. So if I value reciprocity, if I value respect, and if I value quality time and quality relationships, then these one-sided relationships have to go.
Yeah.
These opportunistic relationships gotta go.
Yeah.
I cleaned them out.
Boundaries.
And changed my number. And most of them won't even probably realize that I'm gone anyway.
Oh my goodness.
But and I felt so much weight lifted from me. And that's that piece where we're talking about radical self-love. And we hear a lot of talk on social media about releasing relationships that no longer serve you.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, those relationships did not serve me. Why? Because I was serving it. But then there's a point where we need to address the ego and realize that sometimes people are really in their feelings, in their ego, saying, well, this doesn't serve me, and sitting in this selfish, narcissistic seat.
Yeah.
But there has to be, in order for any relationship to work, any dynamic, family, work, romantic, there has to be reciprocity there. Like, are we really in this relationship together? Are we really doing life together? Are we really sisters, cousins, families, friends, co-workers, whatever it is? And if it's one-sided, I can't do it.
Not gonna work.
I don't have capacity for it anymore. And I had to recognize my self-worth and really adhere to those boundaries. And I'm like, you know what? I've been doing this for so long, and allowing those type of people and those relationships in my life contributed to my depression.
Yep.
Because I was allowing people to treat me less than what I'm deserving. And that was like making cuts on my heart. And I was doing it to myself. And I was like, nope, the bleeding is going to stop, and it's going to stop today.
I like, out of all of that, summarizing it,
Yeah.
is you chose yourself.
Yes.
You chose you.
Yes.
And you made a choice that you want to have joy in your life, and you made that step forward. So,
yes.
I guess that was one advice. Like, what can you do today? You might not solve the problem, or you might not call a therapist up or make an appointment, but what can you do today? One is, you just said, change my number. Boom. That's step one. What can I do today? So I love that advice. I love that advice. Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps until you get comfortable to reaching whatever your comfortability is in doing that. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
One more thing. How can listeners get involved in the mental health community? How can we be an advocate in your own community about mental health?
Oh, definitely volunteer with your, local nonprofit organizations. I would say even within religious communities, try and reach out and maybe find Christian therapists or therapists that are open to working with religious communities, and maybe putting on like some type of forum and maybe bringing them in to speak. That'll be something that's cool. Getting into nonprofits like, Silence the Shame, and, looking into the resources and just getting involved. Following me on the Angelic Life podcast, or at the Angelic Life on social media, wherever. So definitely connect with me, because I'll be doing more advocacy work. But yeah, just staying plugged in.
Are you proud of you?
I am very proud of me. I'm very proud that that I had to, even in this moment, I had to release shame. And I'm even so thankful of the title of this podcast, and even what Shanti is doing, because this whole weekend, I was racking my brain. What do I say? Do I say this? Do I do this? And do that? And then I was realizing in the moment, I was like, I'm still protecting the people that hurt me, and I'm still silencing my voice. And the only reason for me to be free is to really talk about what I've been through, and to let people know that you can make it through.
Yeah.
You can come through anything. Yeah.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
We're proud of you here at
Thank
Silence the Shame. So I want to take the time to thank you so much, because that was a very vulnerable conversation.
Yeah.
And like you said, it took you to like kind of put down a little bit of pride to like talk about it and, silence your shame.
Yes.
So I appreciate you coming through today. And
I got one more tip for the people.
what's one more tip you got?
So what helped me to silence the loop of the negative voices that were going on in my past is actually confronting it. Sometimes I even had to say it out loud, like, you're lying and blah, blah, blah. Once I confronted the loop that was going on, that negative self-talk or whatever it is, or the things that people might have said that hurt me that just kept looping in my mind, once I confronted it, it stopped. And I realized that those types of things are going to continue to loop unless I decide to stop it.
Yeah.
And I said, oh no, this is the last time. Because sometimes I realized I had people that were not in my life that were still controlling my life, because they're controlling my life here.
Yeah.
And so I had to confront it within my own privacy of my own room, during my own like meditation time, prayer time, and address it head on. and rebuke that thing, and it went.
I love that because it starts mentally. So
yes,
it just reminds me of something we do with our Youth Advisory Council, because you have to get comfortable with saying stuff out loud.
Yes.
So we tell them to say in the mirror, even if it's something like, I am beautiful today, those words can be hard to even say to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So I think practicing in the mirror first, maybe confronting the mirror first and acting like you're talking to somebody.
Yes.
And then it'll build up courage to talk to somebody outside of that. So that's I love that advice.
Yes.
I love that.
Because, see, you can leave the environment, but if you don't leave the environment, you leave physically, but if you don't leave in your mind and in your heart, you will still be going through that cycle. Yeah. So it's time to like address that so that it can stop completely, so that you can really heal and thrive and be the person that you were created to be. And also, while you're healing from depression, give yourself grace as you are getting back into the flow of life. Because when I was healing from it, when I came out of it, I lost who I was before. My creativity, all of my passions, all of the things that made me me, I had to become a new person. Like, I forgot how to do Excel formulas and spreadsheets. Like, I had to really learn how to do life again. Yeah. And that's just how extreme and deep my experience was. So that is possible. But give yourself grace in this journey, and don't beat yourself up for the things you did not know, or the things you didn't see, or the things you couldn't recognize from a mental health standpoint, because it's possible, because you may not have had the tools, because you didn't have the knowledge, because that wasn't your profession, because people go to school to become doctors, to be therapists. Yeah. So it's like, and there are times where I would beat myself up, like, how didn't I see it? But I'm like, I wouldn't be able to see it because I was a child, or I was a young woman.
Yeah, you didn't know.
I didn't know.
Give yourself grace.
Right.
Give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Y'all got this. You
Definitely.
got this. You got this. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope this podcast episode really helps our young adults, and then even our parents, given that safe space to have those conversations in your home.
Yes,
so
definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank DBHGD, who is our sponsor and funder for this podcast episode. Please share this episode with your family and your friends and community so we can help spread the word on mental health awareness. Continue to support Silence to Shame by liking, sharing, and leaving 5-star reviews on our podcast episodes. And also, we're still taking donations as we continue to do our work in the community. You can also donate by texting SILENCE to 707070. We want to thank you for tuning in. Remember to free your feels, take time, save a life, and silence the shame.